Hello and welcome to this important conversation on sustainability after COVID-19. As sustainability rises to the top of the global economic agenda, reducing our carbon footprint and restoring the world's forest is a powerful way to mitigate the effects of climate change. Mastercard has been vocal in its stance on sustainability and fighting climate change. Key efforts have brought together a climate scientist, forest restoration experts, businesses, financial institutions, and consumers with the Priceless Planet Coalition. The coalition now features over 80 partners globally and will see the restoration of 100 million trees by 2025, a critical target in reaching the 1.5 degrees Celsius goal as called for in the 2018 Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report. The future of our people, our planet, and the economy are inextricably linked, and taking action today will support Mastercard's goal of building a more sustainable and inclusive digital economy. Today's discussion is under the theme Sustainability After COVID, Africa's Forward Approach to Making Better Environmental Choices. I am Narengwa Fiona Mothoni, and joining us is Sharia Ali, the country manager for East Africa at Mastercard, and Peter Nduda, who is the country lead forest and landscape restoration at the World Resources Institute. You can also be part of the conversation. Write to us on Twitter using the hashtag PricelessPlanet or hashtag MastercardMEA. Now, to begin this conversation, I'll start with Peter. It's great having both of you joining us for this important conversation. But Peter, what are your views on climate change, particularly the importance of sustainability towards improving people's lives and ensuring nature can actually thrive?
Thank you. Thank you so much for hosting us today in this beautiful, wonderful day to discuss about sustainability. We know very well that our planet is already experiencing unprecedented fires, droughts, floods, landslides. We're seeing very low land productivity in our rural areas, as well as in the farms that we've relied on for food, and other extreme weather. These threats will only intensify as the world continues to warm. Sadly, the effects of climate change we're talking about will have the biggest impact to the poor and the marginalized communities, who, in my opinion, most of them rely on rain-fed agricultural practices for their livelihoods, for their food, for their water, for their livelihoods generally. At the World Resources Institute, we believe that restoring deforested and degraded landscape is both critical and urgent because they directly support people's livelihoods. For example, this is the one way to increase food production in the landscapes. This is the way to improving water security. This is the way to reduce disaster risks. And this is the same way we approach to combat desertification while increasing the resilience of the communities to these climate challenges. And we are not forgetting this also has biodiversity benefits to our planet, while in totality, we will be together improving the livelihoods of communities.
Yeah, Peter, thank you for that very elaborative, you've told us the impact that this coalition is likely going to have. And I'd also like to bring in Sharia Khan. We've just seen what Peter has said. Mastercard is a technology company, but it also has numerous sustainability credentials. And you've recently announced an acceleration of your net zero commitment to 2040, a full decade earlier. Just to talk to us, how does a tech company get itself into the sustainability movement?
Thank you, Fiona, for this opportunity, and it's an great opportunity today to discuss an issue that's close to all of our hearts. At Mastercard, we clearly realize that our success as an organization is rooted in financial inclusion, sustainability, and the strengthening of our environment. I would like to explain the Mastercard spirit through a virtuous triangle illustration, where on one side we have the challenge of the one versus the many, like financial inclusion, equal opportunity for all, regardless of race, gender, or where you come from. On the other side, we have the challenge of man versus nature, whereby it is incumbent upon us to strengthen our environment instead of eroding it. Now, these two sides sit on the foundational challenge of short-termism versus long-termism, where when businesses make their decisions, they must be clear on what would be the long-term impacts of the decisions made today. And sustainability is the bedrock of this virtuous triangle. So we firmly believe in the principle of doing well by doing good, and also encourage every one of us to play a role, whether they are a business leader, a policymaker, a scientist, or a consumer. A couple of days ago, I was talking to my father about how Mastercard is making a global impact vis-a-vis reforestation, and he shared with me the details on a Miyawaki method to bring green cover to urban centers. And I realized that till I joined Mastercard, I had seldom held such a conversation with my parents. Most of my environmental activism was limited to talks, individual consumption choices, and the occasional tree plantation. But after joining Mastercard, the collaborative activism I'm experiencing has been exponentially accelerated. And this is due to the availability of global platforms, access to networks of corporates, and sustainability goals as part of our KPI. In short, Fiona, we at Mastercard believe setting sustainability goals are the right thing to do for the society, and it's 100% the right thing to do for our business.
Yeah, Peter, to come to you, as Sharia has said, it is the right thing to do for society. But as World Resource Institute, why have you decided to collaborate with Mastercard on this Priceless Coalition? What impact do you see coming from this?
Thank you again, Fiona, for that question. First, I want to start by saying our vision for Africa as WRI is to catalyze an inclusive transformation so that Africa's people and landscapes can flourish. To achieve this, we consciously have to ensure that we bring everyone on board. Everyone has to be on board for us to achieve impact at the scale that will make a difference on the ground. A difference for the local people who rely on these landscapes for their livelihoods. Now, this strategic partnership between Mastercard, who work with the consumers, and WRI, on the other side, who work with governments and local implementers, ensures that, number one, no one is left behind. We have this inspired, inclusive continental restoration movement that is ready to take action for climate, for development, for sustainability, number one. Secondly, in this partnership, we are able to ensure that Mastercard has all the skills, the expertise, the tools, and the approaches that are required to bring such an initiative into life. Because we have to bring all the expertise. We cannot reinvent the wheel. What we have been doing over the years within WRI, we are bringing it into this program so that Mastercard can be able to access the skills, tools, and approaches to be effective and efficient in implementing these community programs.
Yeah, now just to come, want to listen to Mastercard. This is the Priceless Planet Coalition. I'd like to know more about it. If Sharia, you can just come in and break it down for us, tell us the details behind it.
Sure, thank you, Fiona. So I really like the way Peter put the structure around WRI's collaboration with Mastercard. But let's go back to the genesis of this, initiative. So let's look around us. We have our beautiful planet, which is our only home. 10,000 years ago, we had 6 trillion trees on the surface of the earth. Today, this is down to 3 trillion by the latest estimates. In the last 70 years, CO2 emissions have grown from 5 billion tons to 35 billion tons. These stats beg the question, what are we planning for ourselves and our future generations? As individuals, when we look in the eyes of a newborn child, or any of our loved ones, or we see and appreciate the beauty of the nature and the wildlife, that is enough a reason for us as individuals and organizations to trigger a response towards strengthening our beautiful environment. Under the Priceless Planet Coalition, Mastercard, with its network of partners, has committed to planting 100 million trees by 2025. This is whilst collaborating with our 3 billion plus consumers in 210 plus countries, and also our thousands of corporate customers, be it in the financial sector, MNOs or mobile money networks or mobile networks, governments, merchants, fintechs, who can all join the Priceless Planet Coalition to play their part. Today, the coalition includes, like you rightly mentioned, Fiona, over 80 global partners, including NMB Bank, which is the largest bank in Tanzania, Premier Bank, which is the largest bank in Somalia. We have Faisal Islamic Bank, which is one of the largest banks in Sudan. And then we have a few banks in Kenya, like Paramount Bank. We've got Salam Bank in Djibouti, and the list goes on. And all of these partners have committed to running campaigns and enlisting their consumers in climate action, whether that's by encouraging them to go paperless, donate, learn, or engage. So that is, in a summary, what Priceless Planet Coalition is all about.
Yeah, and we're saying, just to stay with you, Sharia, we're saying it's bringing together different climate scientists, it's bringing together forest restoration experts, businesses, as well as people from the different financial institutions. But do talk to us in depth when it comes to community engagement. How inclusive is this going to be?
Excellent. So let's break it down to understand when I talk about NMB Bank in Tanzania, for example. NMB is a full-service commercial bank incorporated in Tanzania with its headquarters in Dar es Salaam. NMB Bank has recently formed its NMB Foundation. And as part of its efforts towards both environmental conservation and reforestation, NMB Foundation has committed to planting trees in the first year of its partnership with the Priceless Planet Coalition. By committing to this coalition, NMB Foundation is reinforcing its existing efforts to make a positive impact in the whole region. Premier Bank, which is again a bank based in Somalia, with its head office is in Mogadishu and Hargeisa, they have committed to launch campaigns to encourage consumer action, support reforestation efforts, and drive positive impact on the environment. And similarly for Faisal Islamic Bank, Paramount Bank, and Salam African Bank. And just to break it down a bit, there are choices and options. There could be direct donations towards the sites that are already there with Vis-a-Vis Conservation International. So for example, Makueni County in Kenya, we are trying to put in 1.2 million trees in Makueni County. There could be direct donations, that's number one. There could be offering of products and services and solutions whereby customers can see their carbon footprint as they go about using Mastercard solutions. And based on their emissions that they see in a month, they could actually donate the trees to offset that emission. So that is another engaging way to digitally use solutions to actually minimize your carbon footprint. Furthermore, there could be paperless drives within these organizations as to how to reduce the carbon footprint of the organization. And beyond that, there would also be physical engagement whereby customers can actually be part of the tree plantation and the drives that we are doing under the Priceless Planet Coalition.
Yeah, and Peter, to bring you in, WRI actually does work alongside different institutions, but its main mandate is to make sure that nature can thrive. So why partner with Mastercard in this particular collaboration, and to what extent is your expertise?
Thank you again, Fiona, for that question. We bring in our evidence-based planning and decision-making tools that we've produced over the years, skills that we've acquired over the years, expertise we've acquired over the years, both in site planning, in preparation for tree planting, in preparation for knowing where to put what type of species, supporting local organizations in community mobilization and community empowerment. We've developed different approaches and models that we've tested over the years with partners on the ground. And this is what we bring into this coalition to ensure that this work that is being done on the ground is successful. That's one. Secondly, we're working with Mastercard to continue innovating, to continue building more tools and approaches that can be replicated in other regions to scale up this program. And so we're very keen, we're excited to be part of this program. We're supporting the communities on the ground. For example, in Makulinzaui landscape, which is in Kenya, and we're supporting the communities to think about the bigger picture of their landscape, come up with a vision, collaborative planning on what needs to happen in their landscape, and eventually how to effectively deliver the goals that they have set themselves for their landscapes.
Yeah, WRI has had impact in different parts of the globe, and just do talk to us particularly about this project in Kenya. What landscapes are being restored at the moment, just and the impact that it has been having?
Thank you, Fiona, again. This specific landscape in Makueni, in Kenya, we've been working with Mastercard to support the communities to restore their landscape, to achieve multiple benefits in the landscape, as well as to build sustainability for the future, for their children's children. It's not just a tree growing program. It's more than that, in the sense that we started with developing the platforms that would bring the communities together to collaboratively agree on the goals of the landscape, discuss the challenges that are affecting them in the communities, and eventually develop their own solutions for their community. And these platforms are not just about tree planting or tree growing. They also discuss development issues on those platforms. What else do they want to do in their community? These are the same platforms that we use as the coalition to bring in other development activities, such as community empowerment, to empowerment and training, so that they can know their rights, so that they can be able to know what else they could do to improve their livelihoods. The next step that we've done is to support the communities to develop a landscape action plan, which essentially says, what are we going to do where? What trees are we going to grow where? What species are we going to grow where? We have indigenous trees that the communities are growing in the forest land and in the critical water catchment areas. We have high value fruit trees that we are supporting the communities to grow in their farmlands. These high value fruit trees are extremely important because they directly provide income to them. And they sell to the local industry that was started by the county government, when they also sell to the local market. In addition to that, the ecosystem that is being restored will have a huge impact in their livelihoods. It's addressing the water security issue that this community has been facing over the years. And now we want to restore all these streams that have dried over the years. And they're excited about it because from the stories that they were telling us, they were saying, look, we used to have water here. All these streams, all these springs used to have water. Now there is no water. When it rains, they say when it rains, soil erosion everywhere, landslide everywhere. So when it rains, it's bad for them. When it doesn't rain, it's bad for them. And so now we just have to come together and help them restore their land to address these ecosystem services that used to be there, but now they are not there. Starting again, if I can say, food security, water security, ensuring that this community has access to trees that they've planted in their farms as source of energy, because most of them, they rely on firewood to cook. So it's beyond just planting the fruit trees, but they're also doing woodlots that they can use for even building houses for their young adults as they grow up. So it's a holistic program that's addressing the community's livelihoods, the biodiversity, increasing back biodiversity where it used to be in these critical water catchment areas, as well as energy security and food security as well.
Yeah, and Sharia, to just come to you from what Peter has said, that it is beyond planting trees, and partnerships are crucial. Partnerships are important for the set targets to be achieved. And from this conversation, it is clear that Mastercard does value that. So just how do other partners in the Sub-Saharan region contribute to the Priceless Planet Coalition?
Well, let's just start by the base, Fiona. For example, we've done recently a research, like Mastercard Sustainability Research is what it's called. We have realized that our research has shown that the consumer passion for environment causes has grown manyfold. In Africa, 9 in 10 people stated that they are willing to take personal action to combat environmental and sustainability issues. Now, if we look at our partners if we dial back maybe a decade ago, compared to what board meetings and discussions amongst businesses are taking place today, environmental and sustainability causes are taking front and center stage, exacerbated mainly by the impact of COVID. And COVID has actually shown us the gap between those who have access to digital and those who not. And actually that gap has widened. So when we talk to different partners, it is a common thread that kind of binds us, which is that we see the plight of the SMEs, we see the plight of women entrepreneurs, we see how they have been disadvantaged due to COVID and its impact. Similarly, environmental sustainability is becoming front and center a concern. And when we talk to, for example, I spoke about NMB Bank in Tanzania. The reason why NMB Bank formed the NMB Foundation, and then that NMB Foundation entity became part of the Priceless Planet Coalition, was because beyond the broader financial inclusion agenda and supporting the SMEs and women entrepreneurs, there is an urgent need to address the environmental fallout that has taken place due to the higher levels of CO2 emissions over the years. So as NMB, as Premier Bank, or Faisal Bank in Sudan, or Paramount Bank, as these banks come together and actually work with like-minded partners like ourselves, like WRI, like Conservation International, it has an exponential impact in terms of how many, for example, trees we could put out there, how we can reduce the CO2 emissions, how we can track them, how we can all come together, study the data, see how are we doing. And it's not just about simply planting trees in one part of the world and saying that that's our job well done. It's not. It's about planting the trees, ensuring that the CO2 emissions go down, our carbon footprint as organizations is reduced, and then monitoring it together, seeing the latest technologies that are out there as to how we can bring environmental development front and center and actually execute it in a seamless manner. For example, if we go out today and have a meal in a restaurant, it's a transaction. What makes that transaction more meaningful for the up and coming generations is that payment. By making that payment, there is a contribution towards a cause which is greater than the payment itself. So if a payment is made and we are donating 2 trees or 3 trees based on that payment, that is what really makes that experience fulfilling. And the new generations are demanding the same. And all of us, Mastercard, our financial partners, mobile money or mobile network operators, governments, fintechs, they all have to listen to that voice that is coming on the table.
Yeah, sure. As you just said, we're seeing generations that are coming up, they are more aware of the environmental impacts. Just, do we have statistics on how deep this runs? We do know that there was a top-line findings of Mastercard sustainability research. Do share with us some of the statistics revealed.
Absolutely. So in Africa, like I said, Fiona, 9 in 10 people stated that they're willing to take personal action to combat environmental and sustainability issues. This compares to 8 in 10 globally. So therefore, the awareness is much higher and the willingness to act is much higher in Africa. 84% of Kenyan respondents think it's now more important than ever for businesses and brands to do more for the environment. 52% said that they are planning to give more value to brands, and this is an important point, more value to brands that act in a responsible, transparent, and honest way. Buying less impulsively by being more aware of the purchases is the top change regional respondents will make as a result of COVID-19. And this is again talking to my experiential value creation as well, where I talked about the simple act of making a payment. How does that impact the world around me? That becomes important. This signals also a growing trend towards eco-conscious spending and consumption among people who want to turn their purchases into meaningful actions for the planet.
Yeah, now Peter, just bring you in this conversation. We have a few minutes left, so in just like about a minute, do tell us, why is this conversation crucial? Why should we be talking about sustainability? And also do give us your closing remarks.
Thank you, Fiona. First, I want to reiterate that climate change is a big challenge, especially here in Africa. It's a huge challenge. And for us to move forward, we need both research, evidence-based. We need to combine those with local knowledge. So we need local partners such as the Greenbelt movement, whom we are working with in the landscape that I discussed earlier, to support the communities so that first they can be empowered to understand their environment and how their actions impact their future. And then secondly, they can be empowered to take action on the ground to deliver the goals that they have collaboratively on the ground agreed to deliver for themselves. Because until the communities understand and have the facilities, the tools, the skills, and the resources that this coalition is bringing, we are not going to see impact at scale. So this is very important. Secondly, it is important to eventually replicate these amazing examples. In Kenya, the goal is to grow 1.2 million trees with the communities leading and the coalition supporting. This work is largely led by the local women and the youth. And they need all the support that we can mobilize to ensure they are successful. Because as I said earlier, their livelihoods have to win, biodiversity has to win, climate has to win, development has to win. Okay. And if it's not these multiple benefits, then we are not going to be successful.
Okay, thank you for those closing remarks, Peter. Sherry, I'll just come to you. We actually do have just a few seconds left. What are your closing remarks? And aside from the ambitious formation of the Priceless Planet Coalition, how does Mastercard plan to expand on its commitments to sustainability? In just a few words.
Sure. So, Fiona, in addition to the reduction of the carbon footprint, Mastercard has made a commitment to include 1 billion people into the digital economy with a special focus on SME and women entrepreneurs. We have already crossed the 500 million mark, so we're on our way. Furthermore, while the pandemic impact wasn't felt equally and left most vulnerable more exposed, it is incumbent on all of us to work together to rebuild our communities. To sum it all up, we are at a very important juncture in our times. This is a powerful moment for us to build a sustainable society. Vibrant economy is key, and a sustainable society leads to a vibrant economy. And whilst doing that, we must build a strong home for our future generation. Each and every one of us, both individually and collaboratively with each other, must make this moment count. This is an open invitation to all governments, businesses, consumers to join Mastercard's sustainability goals and lead the change we all want to see.
Thank you so much to both of you for sharing your insights with us today and for joining us on this conversation. That was a conversation on sustainability after COVID-19 and the role that Mastercard is playing. On the call, we had Sharia Ali, the country manager for East Africa at Mastercard, and Peter Nduda, who is the country lead forest and landscape restoration at World Resources Institute. And remember, the conversation does not end here. You can write to us on Twitter. You can use the hashtag Priceless Planet or the hashtag Mastercard MEA. Thank you so much for joining this conversation here with me, Naingwa Fiana Muthoni.